Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex P. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Tuesday, March 26th, presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Ian Cameron, and we got Terry Edelman back in the fold once again, filling in for Alex B. Smith, who will, by the way, be with us tonight for the Betcast, Thursday and Saturday throughout the rest of the week. He's finally going to return home next week, and then he'll be back on the show on a daily basis. So Terry is back with us here on this Tuesday. We'll get into the huge slate in just a moment. I'm going to be quick with the Monday recap. Blues, tough loss, played well enough to win. Logan Thompson was terrific.
Ian, not to interrupt, but I think this is a different day because the stream for today is not on. I think this is Winnipeg Jets and New York Rangers, it says up there.
Did I screw up here?
On the title? Yeah, I think we're on the wrong day because the other stream is
right. Hold on. Yeah, I think we are. You're right. Holy shit. Let me just see.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I thought I'd tell you because this is the wrong stream, but...
No, we are. Apparently we are. We're on here. So let me just see here. We are. Yeah, I'm just seeing. Okay, what's happening here? Why does it say Jets and Rangers there? Yeah, we're on. Sure okay, never mind. We'll keep going. Sorry about that. We're getting thrown off track here. We're on, apparently, and I don't know why it says Jets and Rangers. I got to figure out why this is. But nevertheless.
StreamYard issues. They have issues.
Yeah, no doubt. We're on. It says Bruins, Panthers. Okay, we're on. The show can continue. With that in mind, yeah, tough loss for the Blues, right? Last night, very, very tough. The fact that, you look at that loss, you're at the time of the year when you're trailing like they are to Vegas. It's hard to give up points to them and fall even further behind, give up 1 point in this last night to a team you got to catch. Logan Thompson was great. And I said this to Alex and a bunch of us in DM form last night that, I definitely thought that, Logan Thompson played well enough where I think the conversation for Bruce Cassidy and the coaching staff is open to, whether or not Logan Thompson's the starting goalie in the playoffs as opposed to Adin Hill, because he's played very well. We know Hill's injured. We know he's had his struggles. So I don't think it's cut and dried that Adin Hill, just because he won a Stanley Cup last year, is going to be starting game one, assuming the Vegas Golden Knights get in the playoffs, and they do still have work to do. But nevertheless, it was a huge 2 points for Vegas, a tough missed extra point for St. Louis, losing in overtime. Sure enough, you knew that when Buchnevich missed the penalty shot, watch Vegas win it right after, and that's exactly what happened with Marcia So there for the 2-1 win. What a job by the Kings last night against the Canucks. 3-2 win against Vancouver, and really they shut Vancouver down in the third period. I know Vancouver made it 3-2, got within one, but that puck went in off Andrei Kopitar. Nothing he could have done about that. They suffocated, and they put the fucking blanket on Vancouver in that third period. It was a clinical, surgical, textbook, perfect road game, and that is how you play on the road, defending a lead in the third period. The LA Kings showed it last night in that win against Vancouver, and we hit the bargain bin special of the night. Andrei Kopitar, just north of plus 300 for him to score a goal against the Vancouver Canucks. Keep riding Kopitar right now. He's feeling it. He's on a point streak. He's had, I believe, multi-point games, 4 or 5 in a row now for the LA Kings, and he scored a bunch of goals lately during that stretch. So Andrei Kopitar, like we said yesterday, it's why we liked him in the bargain bin play. He is heating up at the right time of year here for the Los Angeles Kings. Terry, your thoughts on the 2 games we saw Monday night?
Yeah, well, it was another profitable night for me. Since that Friday, my last day here on the show, I've been just rocking and rolling. 4 winning days in a row. So yesterday was no different. Bet the draw in both games, which I added a little bit late during my show. We got it with the St. Louis and Vegas Golden Knights plus 370. That was a nice cash. Shea Theodore continues to assist. I continue to bet Shea Theodore assist props. He gets one there. Jake Neighbors, his point streak comes to an end. But sadly, all streaks must eventually come to an end. That happened with Neighbors there. And then the LA Vancouver game, I was on Canucks money line. So that was a loser, but I was also on the under 5.5. And It did scare me a little bit with LA's offense recently going with the under, but both teams trending towards the under right now. They played unders against each other, so I cashed the under there. Didn't get the draw there, and then was on Garland Point, who didn't cash, but I gave out my parlay of the day on my show was Shea Theodore Point and Quinn Hughes Point plus 182. So that was a nice winner. So finished the day up a little bit, and now looking towards today's slate. What a slate we have! Ian knows when to pick them for the betcast because there's so many good games to talk about today. So it's great.
There are, and there's so many with playoff implications and games where you got two teams head to head that both need points. And that's what makes this card very, very interesting and very, very appealing. Terry mentioned the betcast. We will mention it once again tonight. Live betcast coming your way, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We are excited for it, no question. And like I said, this is a betcast that we scheduled it weeks ago. And we looked ahead and we saw, man, what a slate when you've got Bruins Panthers on this slate. First place battle in the Atlantic, playoff rematch as well. Capitals Red Wings, almost like a playoff game with those two teams facing off. Flyers and Rangers. Rangers trying to win a division. Flyers just trying to make the playoffs. Meaningful game for both teams. Devils and Leafs. Devils aren't completely out of it. Toronto's trying to solidify their third spot in the Atlantic. Vegas and Nashville, enormous game. The two teams holding down a wild card spot right now in the Western Conference. Edmonton, Winnipeg, a very quality all-Canadian Western Conference matchup there. And then I will admit after that, it does kind of peter out a little bit. Once you get to Calgary, Chicago in the late slate, kind of stinky. But, that slate from 7 p.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern is every game, I think, is pretty damn good and important in some form. So we're looking forward to it tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. Again, DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast, and we will send you a link for it before it begins tonight. All right, let's get into the Tuesday card. We will begin with Carolina-Pittsburgh. Carolina minus 190, road favorites, 6 the total, 6.5 in some spots. So shop around. If you like the under, you should be able to get 6.5. If you like the over, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to get 6. It's very simple. Line shopping, very important all the time, especially at this time of year. Pretty much what we're doing here with this game. We're taking Carolina in various forms. First period puck line, full game puck line. Actually, I might take them in regulation if the price is short enough. Carolina team total over because Pittsburgh gives up 4 goals to everybody these days. But the thing about Pittsburgh, though, is they've started games. The best part of Pittsburgh performances lately has been the start. They've actually shown up early, gotten on the board early. So I am interested maybe in both teams to score here, first period in this game. I don't know why Ice X is torturing himself, taking the Penguins like he keeps doing, but hey, to each his own. But this Pittsburgh team right now, they do show up early, and they could score early. That's been a little bit of a pattern of theirs. So I kind of like the over trifecta here. Both teams to score first period over, and full game over. Now, Carolina is not always a team to totally rely on with these over bifectas and trifectas because we know with the lead, they park the bus and they sit on it. And that's what I worry about a little bit in this game. But, you just look at Pittsburgh defensively, and all it takes is a couple of breakdowns and the puck is in the back of their net. And that is definitely something that has been a problem for them. Just horrendous end zone defensive coverage has been an issue for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Of course, we knew that they were going to blow that. I shouldn't say of course. There's always a chance they could have hung on against Colorado, but it felt pretty damn obvious they were not going to hang on to that lead against Colorado, and Colorado comes back and beats them 5-4. Talk about the Pittsburgh deficiencies defensively, and this is regardless of who's in net. I think it's inconsequential who's in net, Jari or Nedeljkovic, because they're giving up 4 or 5 goals majority of their games lately. They've given up 14 goals in their last 3 games combined. They're off a 3-game road trip. Carolina's played a lot of games, no question about that. This is now going to be their 7th game in 11 nights. I mean, it's been an absolutely grueling schedule, but they're finding ways to win still. The Toronto game, it wasn't pretty. They had to hang on, but they found a way to persevere and get the 2 points. Pyotr Kochetkov expected in net for Carolina. No confirmation yet, though. Nedeljkovic will be back in net for Pittsburgh in spite of the fact he was in for that throttling against Colorado, especially in that third period. So, yeah, we'll do a little Carolina first period puck line here. Looks like regulation for Carolina is -114, so I'll go with that instead of the full game puck line. And we'll do a little over trifecta in this game as well, plus the team total over for Carolina. You can get it at a pretty reasonable price, over 3.5 at +106. Again, I know the concern about Carolina. They get up 2-0, 3-0, 3-1 in these games. Sometimes they just sit on it and bleed the clock and just run the game out without adding on. They're not one of those teams consistently that does the pile on, tack on goals. But I think tonight against a defensive sieve like this, they are still capable of getting to that 4 that we need. What do you think here, Terry? Hurricanes, Penguins?
Yeah, I do like the Canes to win this game. There's a really heavy overtime history between these two teams. 5 of the last 9 have gone to overtime. Carolina's gone to overtime in 3 of their last 6. And they have played so much hockey recently. So for me, if I'm betting Carolina in this game, which I do have them in a parlay, it's as a parlay piece here. They are 11-2-1 in their last 14 against the Penguins. So I see this either being a close game where Carolina will most likely find a way to win, or I could see this being a Carolina smash spot. So not comfortable enough for me to pull the trigger on Carolina in regulation or the puck line. But I do have 2 props. Seth Jarvis anytime goal, +220. Yes, he didn't score in his last game, but if it was just inches, it would have went in, but it hit the post. Tragic way for his goal scoring streak to end. I think he gets right back on it here in this one. And then one of my favorite props of the day, Jake Gensel, 2 or more points, +170. Hey,
that's your Captain Obvious prop of this whole day, probably.
Yeah.
Going back to Pittsburgh.
+170, a great price for that. So that's one of my favorite props of the day.
Yeah, I actually went one step further. I was going to get into the Gensel props. Gensel goal, Gensel assist, Gensel over 1.5 points. I like all 3 of them. I'm sprinkling on 2 goals and Patrick as well. I'm going the extra mile with Jake Gensel here as well. Just small bets. Again, the way I make it sound like I'm on this and I'm on this and I'm on this and I'm on this, and I'm going to lose my ass if all of them lose. No, these are all small bets. Like you have to be that way with the player props. Even the ones you like last night, Jake Neighbors was like a 0.01 unit for me. That's very little. So even though we like the props, we keep them smaller because they are still props at the end of the day, and they don't always hit. And especially this time of year, you're starting to see the defense ramp up a little bit. You're starting to see tighter checking, lower scoring hockey. So, but you're right. This is definitely a Gensel spot. I'm with you on Seth Jarvis. He's, still stick with it, even though he finally didn't score the other night against Toronto as well. His props have been full of value lately for the Hurricanes, and he just has been very reliable and consistent. Jarvis, Aho, Gensel, that whole line's been very good. Natchez on the second line, you could look in that direction potentially as well for Carolina. For Pittsburgh, you look at the way their lineup is comprised tonight. You've got Bunting and O'Connor on the left side, playing with Crosby and Malkin on the top 2 lines. If you're going to go with someone on the Penguins, I would go with either of them. There's definitely some value outside of Crosby, who, of course, has carried the team. I mean, you can never go wrong with Sidney Crosby for Pittsburgh. But no, this is the night where I think Jake Gensel, it's going to be emotional too. He's going to get the video tribute. And this is one time where I can't bitch and complain about the video tribute. It's deserved. It's richly, richly deserved tonight. It's not one of these Pierre Engvall disgraces or a joke like that where, a guy that played 2 seconds with a particular franchise is getting honored with the video tribute on the big board. No, this is obviously very well deserved. Played his whole career there in Pittsburgh, won Stanley Cups there as well. So finally, a video tribute that will take place tonight that we could say, you know what? No complaints. It's very well deserved for Jake Gensel in his return to Pittsburgh. All right. Next,
I was going to bet one prop. Sorry to cut in there. It would be for Pittsburgh, Michael Bunting. He's obviously facing his former team.
That's true.
Playing 4 of his last 5 games.
Yep.
So I'd look at there. And if Gensel does get to 2 goals, preview to the betcast, he's one of the players I'm going to be looking at. If he does get to 2 goals, I'll be live betting that on the betcast. I'm going to look at opportunities for hat tricks tonight because, as Robert has said in the chat, 101 hat tricks so far this year. There's been a ton of hat tricks. So if we get the chance tonight, I'm going to be looking to live bet some metrics.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think Gensel's going to want to have a good night. I think obviously against the defensive team he's going up against, he's very capable of it. All right, Detroit. And by the way, with this game, I want to point out the Carolina bets. I'm keeping those small simply because this is a betcast night, and I do have a sense that maybe we could get a situation like what we had with Pittsburgh, Colorado Sunday, where maybe Pittsburgh does have a lead early. Maybe Pittsburgh is up 2-1 or 3-1, maybe surprisingly in the second period. And then we know the moment something goes bad for them, we can jump in live with the draw, jump in live with Carolina. There's definitely that possibility. Certainly, that'll be on the radar if Pittsburgh gets a lead at any point during this game. All right, Detroit and Washington. This is a huge game. This is like a playoff game in late March. Washington minus 125, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. It certainly feels like the draw could get there in this game. I did sprinkle on that. I think it's tough from a side perspective here, but I'd actually lean Caps. They lost, obviously, or they've won back-to-back 3-0 and 7-6 after the 7-3 loss to Toronto. Detroit got 2 wins in a row since the return of Dylan Larkin to the lineup, but they lost 1-0. Really a heartbreaker to Nashville. That game was very, very close. They played well enough to win, but again, you're looking at this as a game where Detroit just couldn't get that goal. Philip Forsberg did, and it was a 1-0 game. The encouraging thing for Detroit is Alex Lyon played a lot better, much better than he has recently, and looked a lot like the Alex Lyon that played at Florida last year, early this season when he played well. That was his best game of the month, for sure, because this hasn't been a good month for him. Sometimes I'm made to look like a genius, and this time I was. I said it all along. Give the guy a physical and mental break. Give him like several days off, few games off. Let him hit the reset button. And sure enough, what did we see against Nashville? He was a lot better. Cleared his mind, hit the reset button, and he played a lot better. Now, can he do it again here and show that it wasn't a one-off performance? That's going to be the key here tonight for Alex Lyon. Back in net, confirmed as the starter tonight for the Red Wings. It'll be Charlie Lindgren in net here for the Washington Capitals. This is as tough a side as I think there is on the card tonight because, this is a Washington team that almost feels like they're playing for the grade 8, Alex Ovechkin. That they're playing to get this guy into the playoffs at least one more time, because how many more opportunities is he going to get to play Stanley Cup playoff hockey? So I think there's that collective, let's get this shit done. And let's get Ovi in the playoffs. And let's make Craig Laughlin happy, the color analyst, too. Let's get Ovi in the playoffs there, Joe B. We need him in the playoffs. Get that big booming shot on the power play for Ovi. Yeah, and make the broadcasters happy, too, for the Washington Capitals. But I think when you look at this game with Detroit and with Washington, I like the draw a little bit. I think this is tricky, too, from a total standpoint. With the Capitals, we've seen, they're one of those teams, they can play both sides of the fence, 6-5 game, 2-1, 3-1 game. And normally I've been betting these overs with Detroit, especially with Alex Lyon in net. But we saw a real tight game, cagey defensive battle with Nashville on Sunday. After Washington had that 7-6, just crazy game with Carolina on Friday. They tightened things up, and it was a 3-0 game against Winnipeg, the shutout win. That Spencer Carberry was harping on defense probably after the Carolina game, not to mention the Toronto game, when they had those back-to-back games where they gave up 7 and 6 goals, and they tightened things up defensively. We'll see if that continues here. This year, they only played the one time in Detroit. It was back in February last month. Detroit just steamrolled Washington 8-3. It was an absolute beatdown for the Red Wings over the Washington Capitals. So Washington will be looking to return the favor. Just the draw for me pregame. There are some props I like. Ovechkin for Washington. I mean, you just have to at this point. He's playing with extreme, not only confidence, but extreme motivation as well. He's been absolutely terrific. It looks like TJ Oshie is good to go as well. He's been banged up a little bit. Maybe consider props with him right now as well, back in the lineup. Miroshnichenko's moved up to the second line, so I'm kind of interested when I see that. McMichael's been in good form lately, centering that top line. We've seen him get points in 3 straight games, points in 6 of the last 7, 2 goals in the last 3 games. So anything McMichael, probably worth a look here on the Washington side. And then for Detroit, you look at what we've seen from them. Games like this, these are big games, right? Head to head. Who do you want to put your faith in? You want to put your faith in a heart and soul player. To me, that's Dylan Larkin. Props for him makes sense. Maybe a sprinkle on Lucas Raymond, though he is cooling off a little bit. And the other is Patrick Kane. I know Patrick Kane's been a little quiet lately too, but big games like this, we look for those big-time players that have been in these spots before. Not so much Larkin. Like, Detroit hasn't had a lot of success, and I don't think Detroit's actually been in the playoffs since Larkin's been there. Maybe once, but I don't think that's the case. And but I trust Larkin because he is a guy that does show up, and we know this Detroit team is so much better with Dylan Larkin in the lap. So I like Larkin props, and the other prop that stands out that I think he can be a big game guy when he wants to be, and that's Patrick Kane. Those are the two I would really focus in on here for Detroit. What do you think here in this one, Terry? Red Wings, Capitals.
I've been close to pulling the trigger on Washington multiple times today. Multiple times I've been close to pulling the trigger on them, but I'm going to stick with props here. I can see this game going to overtime, and of course, Islanders fans and other teams that are just trying to keep their playoff hopes alive, the last thing they want to see is a draw in this game between Detroit and Washington. But both of these two teams are desperate for points, and I don't think either of these teams are going to risk losing a point to do anything crazy here if this game is tied close to the end of the game. And then if one team is losing, they're obviously going to give it their all to tie it. So I could definitely see the draw in this game. I want to bet Washington, but I'm not going to do it. Looking at both goaltenders here, both off a really good last start. Obviously, I was on the Capitals against Winnipeg. Lindgren was just a brick wall. And it looks like in that game, Winnipeg didn't really show up maybe by the final score, 3-0, but they did outplay Washington for a good portion of that game. It's just Lindgren was Charlie Lindgren that we've seen a lot this year. So when it comes to the goaltending, I want to see, obviously, this could be a good live game to bet as well. But Alex Ovechkin, anytime goal, 5 straight games. He's continued to cash for me. I'll continue to take him. Connor McMichael for a point at plus 100. 6 of his last 7 games with a point. I did add Dylan Strome for an assist, plus 125. He's got one in 4 games in a row. And as we saw with him in the power play a few games ago, he will pass to Ovi. Even if Strome has a chance where he should be shooting, he passed Ovi and Ovi scored. So Strome assist. And then if there's one player I'm looking at for Detroit, Shane Gostisbehere, plus 140 for a point. Not available at many spots. I only see really 3 books that it's available. So maybe later on it'll be available at more books. But he's got a point 13 of his last 16 games for Detroit. So plus 140 is a great price if you can get it for him. But the 3 props I really like is Ovechkin, McMichael, and Strome here in this game.
All right. Boston, Florida. We've got the what a matchup. I mean, what an absolutely terrific game. Huge game. 2 points. Battle for first in the Atlantic Division. So a huge 2 points on the line here with these two teams. We've got Florida minus 135 home favorites, 6 being the total in this game. The Florida Panthers snapping their 4-game losing streak on Sunday with a solid 4-1 performance against Philadelphia. Or was it a solid performance? Because if you actually watch that game and you do some digging, they got bailed out a little by Stolarz. Anthony Stolarz was absolutely phenomenal. He's been excellent in a backup role for the Florida Panthers all season long. To be honest with you, it was kind of a Swiss cheese night for Felix Sandstrom, the goaltender for the Philadelphia Flyers. A couple of those goals I think he should have had. They got outshot 33-15. Although a lot of it was in the third when Philly was pressing down a few. But nevertheless, Florida gets a win they needed, which is good. And now they come back home, and they got a win they needed after a tough loss the night before against the Rangers in that ABC Saturday night television game So to find a way to win that game, and as shorthanded as they were Sunday, still pretty impressive. But now all of a sudden, they've got a couple of their key guys back tonight, including the captain, Alexander Barkov, and including one of their best defensemen, Gustav Forsling. Both of them back from injury here tonight for this Florida Panthers team. So that's going to make them a whole lot better on paper, a whole lot more dangerous here tonight against the Boston Bruins. This is another one. It's just so damn difficult because I don't want to go against the Bruins after what I've seen from them the last couple of days. We know they had they've not played as well. We saw back-to-back losses to the Flyers and the Rangers. They're off 2 straight losses. They have significant disdain for this hockey team, having come back to beat them in 7 games last year in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You know Boston should be focused. You know Boston should bring A-plus effort tonight, no doubt. Off 2 losses, off a very intense practice yesterday, a bag skate, and Jim Montgomery ripping his team during that practice, saying we got to up our intensity and our energy level. So he kind of cracked the whip. He has not done that, and he's not a very often with the Bruins, and he's been a coach that rarely does that in his career. So you can tell he's not amused with what he has seen from his Bruins team the last couple. So I have no doubt we're going to get the Bruins' best. The question is going to be, is the Bruins' best good enough right now to beat the Florida Panthers? It was earlier this year. Bruins are 2-0 against Florida head-to-head this season. I got to admit, at this price, I'm leaning Bruins here because of how angry they are. I think how pissed off that Jim Montgomery was, that they're off 2 losses. It's a huge type of game for Boston. They've got to show that they can beat Florida, right now, even though they've won twice in the regular season. See if you can beat them now, especially with Barkov and Forsling back. But at the same point in time, they haven't played great these last 2 games. And I'm concerned now seeing that Jeremy Swayman's in net. And he's been the inferior of the 2 Boston Bruins goaltenders now since the All-Star break. And that concerns me a little bit as well going into this game. Like his goals saved above average. He's got a negative number next to that statistic. He hasn't been as sharp since the All-Star break. Bobrovsky, by the way, gets in net here for Florida tonight. So I think I will take the Bruins here, but it's more so situational here because, I do think after 2 straight losses and a significant rest advantage too, which might show up in this game. Florida had to play 3 games in 4 nights, 4 games in 6 nights now coming into this game tonight against Boston. Meanwhile, the Bruins have had 2 days off that they've had to basically fester and loathe over those 2 straight losses. They haven't played since early Saturday afternoon in Philadelphia, and now they're playing tonight. So I just get that feeling this veteran-laden Bruins team gives it their best, and it gives them a chance to win. So this is, for me, Bruins plus 115, albeit not a significant position for me. And I might sprinkle on the draw because, look, I expect a close game. Look at the head-to-head. We saw overtime in Boston in the first meeting. The second meeting was 3-1, but I believe there was an empty net goal in there. We saw 2 of the games in the playoff series last year go past regulation. So we'll do a Bruins plus draw split here in this game. I'd actually lean to the over here with the total, but I was hoping for 5.5. What I might do is and because we've got the bet cast tonight, this is something I definitely will do. If it falls to 5.5 during the bet cast, we get 5-6 minutes to start the game without a goal. We'll jump in on 5.5 because I do think the Bruins right now offensively are playing better, and defensively they're not playing as well the last few games. And you got a goalie that hasn't played as well either in net tonight lately for the Bruins and Swayman. What do you think here, Terry? Incredible matchup on paper. We hope it delivers the goods. Bruins, Panthers.
I'm right there with you with the live bet angle. I'll be right there with you on the betcast for that. And you know what? I'm really glad you mentioned about the Montgomery because I wasn't aware of that. And I was looking at Florida earlier today, but I'm glad now that I've heard your breakdown there that I didn't pull the trigger on Florida because when you get called out by your coach, that usually you see the team respond.
Called out by the coach, run ragged in practice, 2 straight losses, a team that you hate, a team that ended your season in heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, brutal fashion last year, and getting plus 115. I'm not going against that.
Yeah.
I just can't.
And when you talk about goalies with Swayman, Bobrovsky has not been very good either. So he's been giving up 3 goals a game as well. So yeah, I do think we get goals here in this one. I am on Sam Reinhart anytime goal. So many games earlier on in the season, I was on Sam Reinhart. He did cool off a bit there. Two of his last 4 games, he's got multi-goal games. He is really the biggest part of the offense right now for Florida and all season. So I'll take him at plus 160 to score here in this game. And then, yeah, I'll be looking to live bet it like you if we do get a lower scoring start here in this one.
Yeah, as far as props tonight, obviously with the return of Barkov, you're definitely going to see some changes here for Florida to make room for their captain, who I know they will be happy to have back, of course. Barkov back in his familiar position with it looks like Tarasenko up to the top line, though, with Barkov and Rodriguez. So I think Vladdy Tarasenko has some significant value tonight as far as props go, moving up to that top line with Barkov and Rodriguez for the Florida Panthers. Feels like maybe a Sam Bennett game. I find the more physical the game is, which this one should be with these two teams, the better chance that Sam Bennett, scores one of his, grimy goals, if you will, right around the goal crease. So definitely would look maybe in his direction. Sam Reinhart, of course, I can't ever say, yeah, that's a bad look because of what he's done this season. Boston Bruins on their side, DeBrusk feels like a Pasternak spot maybe. I'll throw out a couple that have value right now to me. Zaka's kind of cooled off. He was piping hot coming out of the break. But Danton Heinen on the second line has suddenly chipped in a little bit for Boston in recent games. 3 goals in the last 5 games for Danton Heinen. And keep in mind, they've got him with Zaka and Pasternak on the second line. So Danton Heinen has some pretty good value. And the other one, if you really want to dig deep for value for Boston, the young kid, Brazeau. I mean, he's been, it's been really impressive to see. This guy's not even getting a ton of minutes. He's playing on the 4th line since he's joined the Bruins. He's got goals in 3 straight games. 3 straight games with a goal, Justin Brazeau, and he's been very, very solid. At some point, Jim Montgomery, look, your team's lost 2 in a row. This guy has scored 4 goals in the last 3 games for Boston. Why the hell aren't you moving him up the lineup? Why aren't you giving him a little bit greater opportunity here if you're Jim Montgomery? Because I still see him, as of now, playing on the 4th line right now for the Boston Bruins. He is playing on the power play. That is true. I see that now. They do have him up on the top power play unit tonight, or on the second power play unit for the Boston Bruins. So, yeah, I think it's great value, Justin Brazeau, right now for a goal prop. I mean, what can you say? 4 goals in the last 3 games, and he scored in each. So he's been a great find. This is reminding me of what Matthew Patra was doing earlier in the year for the Boston Bruins when he first joined the club, and he was scoring a little bit, and then he tailed off. Now he's back in the AHL right now with the Providence Bruins. But right now, that's what Justin Brazeau has done for the Boston Bruins. He's been giving them a nice offensive punch from the bottom 6. All right, next up, we've got the Philadelphia Flyers and the New York Rangers. We've got the Rangers minus 180 to minus 190 home favorites, 5.5 being the total here in this game. I think when you look at this matchup here, Flyers and Rangers, I think the Flyers have been owned by the New York Rangers. It's very, very hard for me to look past that. But you look at what the Rangers have gone through here. God, if there's ever a spot for the Rangers to fucking shit the bed and lay an egg in Clunker City, it's tonight. It definitely is. It feels like that to me. You're off 2 big wins against Boston and Florida, 5-2 against the Bruins. That Saturday night showdown on ABC with the Panthers was an outstanding game. Back and forth it went, 4-3 in favor of the New York Rangers in a shootout. The only concern for me is the Flyers have just been dummied by this team to the tune of 9-1 for the Rangers in the last 10 head-to-head meetings. That's very difficult to bet against, in my opinion, a track record like that. But got to admit, I'm tempted by Flyers and or the draw in this game. I am, because this is such a huge point, 2 points for them. Every game is significant for them. They go back to Samuel Ersson, who was clearly better than Felix Sandstrom, who did not play well. Igor Shesterkin in net for the Rangers. And another consideration, too, that I have, and kind of leaning Philly here, too, is we got significant depletion for the Rangers on the back end, potentially going into this game tonight. They're already without Ryan Lindgren and Jacob Trouba, 2 of their more physical, better shutdown defensemen. And now Eric Gustafsson, who's been getting more minutes lately, upper body injury, and he very possibly could miss this game tonight for the Rangers. So we're talking about a little bit of a test of their blue line depth here tonight without maybe Eric Gustafsson as well. We're looking at maybe a third pair of Chad Ruedel and Brandon Scanlon getting into the lineup here on the third pair for the New York Rangers. Zach Jones, Adam Fox on the second pair, and of course, Keandre Miller, Braden Schneider on the top pair for the Rangers. But that's a banged up blue line tonight going up against this Philadelphia Flyers team. Phillies off the 4-1 loss to Florida. Thought they didn't play as bad as that final score would indicate. I think they got sewered by some shaky goaltending, it seemed like everything Florida threw at the net went in. They had a bunch of chances. Stolarz was a brick wall. He was outstanding. Keep in mind, the Flyers were good enough to beat Boston 3-2 Saturday afternoon at home before that. They took Carolina to overtime on the road. 4-3, they beat Toronto at home. So they're 2-2, and they lost in overtime to Carolina, and the Florida 4-1 loss was not as lopsided as you would think. I think this is a spot for the Rangers maybe to come up a little flat. Those were two enormous wins against quality opposition. And the Flyers obviously have to treat every game like a playoff type of game, a game 7, if you will, as they try to fend off Capitals, the Red Wings, and all these other teams trying to not only overtake them for a wild card, but overtake them for third place in the Metropolitan Division. So, gosh, that's some damning series history with the Flyers getting owned by the Rangers. But I'm going to get in small with the Flyers and the draw split here in this one. What do you think, Terry? Flyers and Rangers?
Yeah, this is another game where it's player prop. I have one player prop in this game, and that's it. I mentioned about the Flyers. I don't bet their games with side or total. So Rangers have completely owned the Flyers. So I do expect them to win this game. And then the total 5.5, with the way this Rangers offense has been going lately, I would definitely lean with the over. But we can see Igor have these nights where he could this could be 5-1.
And Torts has
be
this
4-1.
playing these tight fucking low scoring games again the last 3. That's what concerns me. I'm laying off the total, but my first thought was I leaned over, but I laid off it. I want to see what the pace looks like too early, which is a good night for a bet cast for a game like this.
Yeah, exactly. So ultimately, for me here, it's Adam Fox assist. -110, but he's done it in 7 games in a row. 6 games in a row. He's got a point in 11 of his last 13. He's been consistent, Adam Fox. So I'll go with him for an assist here. And then for the Flyers, if I was getting to anybody, it would be Morgan Frost or Owen Tippett.
Yep.
Plus money for points. I believe Frost is again. So I would look at them, but this is not one of my favorite games.
I'll throw one out there too for Philly, starting to percolate again. Let's pull up the Brinks truck. Bobby Brink here for the Philadelphia Flyers. He scored last game. He's got 2 points in the last 3 games. I think he might be worth a little prop look here as well tonight for the Flyers. All right, next up, we've got the New Jersey Devils and the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs are currently -145 home favorites. The total in this game sitting at 6.5, shaded to the over in this one. You look at this New Jersey team, and they are a very, very schizophrenic team. They are a very, very aggravating team to have to sit down and handicap on a daily basis, because they can lose at home and look pathetic and look horrendous and look just abysmal, embarrassing against the Ottawa Senators at home in a loss on Saturday night. And then they come right back and they stomp the New York Islanders on Sunday when it looked like their season, kind of over. And same thing with the Islanders. We talk about their inconsistencies. How do you look like that against Winnipeg Saturday, blow out the Jets, come back and get shut out by Kaapo Kähkönen? How does that happen to a team? It's just that's why it's very frustrating. I don't know if I want much to do with this game pregame. Joe Woll in net for Toronto. I could only look at the Leafs. They're off a loss to Carolina. They're the better of these two teams still. Woll's been very good in net for them. He was the reason why they had a chance against Carolina. Don't look now. I know Jake Allen's in net for the Devils. He's been good, but finally he had a little bloom come off the rose, if you will, for Jake Allen against Ottawa, giving up 5 goals in that game. This is Leafs or nothing for me, but with the betcast, I feel like maybe New Jersey, if they get a lead, will get a better price on Toronto during the betcast here in this game. But I'm not trusting New Jersey to win 2 in a row on the road. No, No way. But at this price, I'm not crazy about laying it with the Leafs. So we're going to look for a live Toronto bet during the betcast is what we're going to look for here in this game. Plus, the Leafs have owned the Devils 9-1 in the last 10 meetings for the Leafs over the Devils. So I don't think they're going to play down tonight to competition. They're off a loss to Carolina. Keefe was mad about the way they started that game. Maybe a Leafs first period puck line. I could sign up for that pregame here in this game. And I know there's depletion for the Leafs. There's no Joel Edmondson. They're already, of course, without Giordano. And now Morgan Riley, it looks like, is on the list too. Iffy hasn't been ruled out fully. Has not been ruled out fully. It's a game-time decision. But that's okay because we know what the Leafs' record is without Morgan Riley. It's been very good, believe it or not. It's been excellent, in fact, without Morgan Riley. I think when you look at this, normally a defenseman of his caliber, you take him out and you're worried about how the team's going to play. They've actually won tons of games without Morgan Riley. They're so used to playing without Morgan Riley and playing well without him. And this is not because Riley's a bad player. Of course not. It's just happenstance that they have been able to play well without Morgan Riley. That doesn't concern me too much if he doesn't play. And if he doesn't play, Simone Benoit comes in, and everyone's pissed off that he's been taken out of the lineup the last few games for Toronto. So it gets him in there, and he's had a terrific season in a depth defense role for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like if Edmondson's out for sure, if Riley's out as well, you got McCabe, Liljegren, Brody, Lyubushkin, Benoit, and Timmins as your blue line. You can win with that blue line against this team, this erratic bunch, New Jersey. You can win with that. So I might get in on a first period puck line here on Toronto, knowing they had a bad start against Carolina and knowing they want a better start tonight. But I won't bet Toronto full game live. Or pregame, I should say. I won't bet it. I'm going to wait for the betcast live tonight, and we're going to see if we can get a better price with Toronto. Maybe it's tied. Maybe New Jersey gets a lead, and that's when we'll pounce on Toronto during the betcast tonight. As far as the total goes, I don't have a strong feel for it. You know, Allen's been good up until that Ottawa game where he wasn't. Toronto's a team that's kind of, don't really trust the lack of blue line depth to necessarily for an under. But at the same time, Wool's been very good. Allen's been more good than bad. I could see it staying under. So I'm all over the place with the total, so I'm staying off it. What do you think here, Terry, New Jersey, Toronto?
Yeah, Toronto, like you said, Toronto's owned New Jersey 10-0-1 in the last 11 meetings. We have seen a lot of overs. 7 of the 11 games went over. Toronto's gone over 6.5 in 5 of their last 6 games. So the Leafs have been going over, and a good reason why is their offense has been really good recently. The Devils, yeah, like you said, erratic. What Devils team is going to show up tonight? That's the question. We don't know what Devils team is going to show up. So for me here, it's Nylander anytime goal plus 115. Obviously not the best price, but with William Nylander, you really shouldn't expect, especially at home, you shouldn't expect any giant prices there. So goal in 5 of his last 6 games, 3 shots on goal in 13 of his last 14. So he's been consistent at shooting the puck, William Nylander. I like him to score here in this one. And other than that, I may look at this game as a live over opportunity, depending on what this game looks like. Most likely I'll have this game on TV. I'll be watching it on the betcast, so I'll be paying attention to this game live, but really it's just Nylander anytime goal for me here in this game.
All right, William Nylander goal prop for Toronto. I still Bertuzzi, Domi assist. I mean, you got to rock Domi assist right now on the top line with Matthews and Bertuzzi. Bertuzzi's always worth a look. Bobby McMahon's worth a look as well. Those are the main props I'd consider here for the Toronto Maple Leafs. If Riley doesn't play, you always want to look at maybe from a defense standpoint, Liljegren steps into that main quarterback on the power play role for Toronto. So maybe you look more toward his props if you're going to look at anyone on the back end for the Leafs. For New Jersey, I'll give you a couple for New Jersey. I mean, the one thing they might be able to do is, strike for a couple of goals here tonight. I like Alex Holtz. I like him. I like what we're seeing from him. He's finally getting consistent time on the second line. He scored against the Islanders, 2 goals in the last 4 games for him. So Alex Holtz is probably my favorite player prop tonight for the Devils. Definitely getting the opportunity, not getting fucking banished to the fourth line every time he makes a mistake like he was with Lindy. There's definitely been more rope, more leeway given to him by Travis Green, and it looks like he's playing with a little bit greater level of comfort. All right, next up, we've got Vegas and Nashville. Nashville minus 145, home favorites in this game. 6 the total here in this matchup. Great win for Vegas. That game was a coin flip. Could have went either way. It was pretty even. I would say St. Louis probably had the higher degree of quality chances, but Logan Thompson was outstanding. But you're not going to get Logan Thompson tonight. You're going to get Jiri Patera because Aiden Hill's injured. So it's Jiri Patera who's going to get in the starting net for the Vegas Golden Knights here in this game tonight. His numbers haven't been great. That is for sure. We have seen him give up 12 goals in his last 3 starts and a north of 3 goals against average and a save percentage below 900 for Jiri Patera. So not exactly the numbers that you're excited about backing, especially on the second night of a back-to-back on the road here for the Vegas Golden Knights against this red-hot Nashville team. Given the fact that we are talking about a Nashville Predators team that's on this kind of run, historical as far as they've already smashed the consecutive game point streak in franchise history. It's been just an incredible run, and you have to credit this group. And it started from that decision to cancel the U2 concert, and since then they've had this crazy 17-game point streak, 15-0-2, which followed that 9-2 loss to Dallas at home, where we thought it was over for the Nashville Predators. So just an incredible job by this Nashville team. I'm on them. I know it's a popular bet. I can see already lots of people in the chat, Nashville. But when you can get a team that hasn't lost in regulation in 17 games, minus 140 at home against a team on a back-to-back on the road with a very inexperienced goalie at the NHL level, you have to take it. So for me, Nashville minus 140. I actually bet this overnight, and it was down closer to minus 130 at that time. So it's gone up a little bit. But I like Nashville here. Predators minus 140. Too cheap given the situation for Vegas, which is a negative one, and the way, obviously, the Predators are playing and the way they're rolling. What do you think here in this one, Terry, Vegas, Nashville?
Yeah, I don't see Patera confirmed yet, but I definitely hope he is playing here. I really hope he is playing. You normally wouldn't see them go back to a goaltender on the second night of a back-to-back. We don't really see that at all this year, really.
Yeah.
But Logan Thompson's played so well. And part of me is a little worried that maybe Nashville starts him again. But Patera, first start of his NHL career, he got a win. A 5-4 shootout win against San Jose. He gave up 4 goals to San Jose. Lost to Tampa, lost to Florida, lost to Colorado, giving up 5-4, 3 goals. So he has not got to face the best teams overall. And now he gets to face this Nashville team. I locked in Preds money line minus 125 last night. Really happy I got that price. Obviously, it's moved a lot now. And then now that it's at this price, what I did with it is I parlayed it with Carolina, which was one of the parlays of the day on my show. I think it was plus 170 or plus 1 something. So for the 2 teams parlayed together. And Yossi, Forsberg, Nyquist, I've got them all in the same game parlay, all to get a point, plus 250. That parlay cashed in the last game when they won 1-0. It was those 3 players all got a point, and I cashed it last time, hoping for Jiri Patera here, and I really like that. And then Shea Theodore assist was on it last night, plus 150 today. He's got one in 7 of his last 8 games, 13 of his last 16. Yes, the Predators have great goaltending, but at that plus 150 price, I have to keep taking Theodore. But I do like the Preds here to take care of business, and I will be looking at Preds team total over once Jiri Patera hopefully is confirmed.
Yeah, I think that actually I'm going to probably jump in on a little team. So I'm more on the money line because maybe it's 3-1, 3-2 type of game, but I still think they could get 4, especially if Patera's in net, because his allowance on average has been 4 goals when he has been starting in goal for the Vegas Golden Knights. And as far as the series history goes, I'm just looking at it as far as totals are concerned. Mixed bag, 5-4-1 to the over the last 10 meetings between these two teams. So nothing significant there either way. But yeah, Nashville money line for me, I would look at a little team total. Yeah, look, you can take your pick right now. Forsberg goal, Forsberg over 1.5 points, O'Reilly, Nyquist. Don't sleep on Evangelista, what he's been able to do lately down the lineup for Nashville. So there's definitely some good player prop options. But this is one of those games where, you keep it simple here and you look toward, Forsberg in particular in various forms here. Zucker, too. There's another one that on the second line, you've seen him step up his offensive game a little bit. He's getting a little more comfortable now. For Vegas, it looks like we're going to have Eichel, Stevenson, and Amadio on the top line. If Amadio and Stevenson are with Eichel, as it looks like they are, there's great value with both of those guys flanking Jack Eichel. Barbashev, Waugh, and Marchessault look to be the second line. Dorofeev scores the first goal last night for Vegas, and I've talked about him quite a bit. So there's definitely something to looking at maybe Pavel Dorofeev here as well tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights based on what we've seen here the last few games out of him. All right, next up, we've got Edmonton and Winnipeg. Great matchup here. We've got the Oilers minus 125. Road favorites, 6 the total here in this game tonight. Obviously, you've got Winnipeg coming back from a road trip of disaster, especially the way it ended against the Devils, the Islanders, and the Capitals. It was just a brutal 3 games on that road trip there for the Winnipeg Jets. We'll see if they can turn things around here in this matchup tonight against the Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton is now coming off back-to-back losses over the weekend against Toronto and Ottawa. So, these are 2 teams that should come into this game, chomping at the bit, essentially, to get 2 points and get back in the win column and get confidence back in their game. The question is, which team do you trust more to be able to do that? Winnipeg's off the Malinsky special. 5 games on that road trip. They won the first 2 against the Jackets and Rangers, and like I said, disaster in the last 3. Outscored 13-4 by the Devils, Islanders, and Capitals. And first game home off a 5-game roadie. I'm rarely going to take a team in that spot. But I'm not rushing to take Edmonton. They're off back-to-back losses. Winnipeg, at least at home this year, you look at the results, they've been a pretty damn good home team all season long. But they've got to show it to me first before I'm taking them. I guess if I had to choose, I'd still lean Edmonton because I think they're the better team. But I'm telling you what right now, Winnipeg is just, I get the feeling that they could really be pissed off and play a great game and win. But like I said, I've got to see it. I do. And those 3 games were really bothersome to me just to see how out of sorts they were defensively, how just lackadaisical they were to start the game against the Islanders, how undisciplined they were against the Devils, and how just when things started to crumble for them against Washington in the third period, because they actually played a decent game in the first 2 periods again, and then it just fell apart. It's like there's almost like a little fragility is starting to happen again for Winnipeg, a little fragile. That's not what I'm looking for, especially first game home off a long 5-game road trip. So I worry about the Jets being ornery tonight. Rick Bowness is returning tonight. Maybe that sparks them a little bit too, but I got to see it before I believe it. I'm not running to bet Edmonton either, but if you had to force me to choose, I would lean Edmonton here. What do you think in this one, Terry? Edmonton, Winnipeg.
Well, I did lock in Edmonton, but I don't like to see that Rick Bowness is returning tonight. That is not something I wanted to
I
see
wonder
at
if he
all.
rushed himself back from this little medical procedure absence of his just because he sees, hey, things are starting to fucking crumble here and fall apart a little bit. I need the general's got to get back in there and lead the troops.
Yeah, because they were so good at bouncing back. Previous to this losing streak, once they lost their first game, their previous 5 games that they lost, they had won by 3 or more. So Winnipeg was great at bouncing back, but we haven't seen that these last few games. Um, I am still on it. I still like Edmonton. I'm still on Edmonton. Um, the 5-game road trip for the Jets coming back home here. Yes, Edmonton got their butt kicked by Toronto and Ottawa back-to-back nights. Now they get to come here to Winnipeg. Edmonton has had success against Winnipeg 4-2-1 in the last 3, I believe. So they've had some success recently against the Jets. I think we get the McDavid show tonight, and I think the Oilers win this one. I am on Evan Bouchard over half an assist, -105. He has done that in 7 games in a row, and it's a great price, -105 for that. So I'm on Bouchard. Hyman's heating up again. And then for the Jets, nobody's really consistent offensively. So we'll see if they can get things going here. But for me, it's Bouchard and Oilers money line.
I've said for several games, I agree with the Bouchard assist prop. It's kind of like, and by the way, I forgot to mention it in the Vegas game, and I think you might have the Theodore assist prop. I mean, these assist props have been automatic with both of these guys. There's no question. Rocco liking Ekholm here, defenseman for the Edmonton Oilers, plus 1,200 here to find the back of the net. Wow. Quite the price there with the veteran blue liner, Matthias Ekholm for the Edmonton Oilers, who did have 2 goals against Buffalo a few games ago. So that's a big price, that's for sure. There are a couple props I like for Edmonton. Hyman is, it's almost like it's crazy not to bet him to score a goal right now, hitting the 50-goal plateau the other night. Velarde is not back. Velarde is still out for Winnipeg, just to answer that question. I like Adam Henrique. He's up on the top line with Leon now. And we saw him score the other night for the Oilers, I believe, against Ottawa. So Adam Henrique, there's good value with Draisaitl and Foegele for Edmonton on that second line. Foegele, same thing. McLeod and Perry with Kane. Kane, is colder than a frigid Canadian February day or March day. That's what he is right now. So I'd probably be wanting to stay away from him. So but definitely there's some value here. I mean, we know Connor and Leon and Zach Hyman lately and all season have been the headliners, but the price that I see for Henrique, for Foegele, for McLeod, for Perry, for the Oilers, all kind of look like they have some value here for them, for Edmonton in this game tonight, as far as props are concerned. All right, next up, Calgary, Chicago. Now the card takes a turn for the worse as far as quality of matchups. We've got Calgary -170, road favorites, the total 6 here in this game against the Blackhawks, who are returning, by the way, off a West Coast road trip. So bit of a tricky scheduling spot here for the Blackhawks, but only a 3-game road trip. So it doesn't fit that auto bet fade first home game off road trip angle. It needs to be 4 games or more for that. They only went to LA, Anaheim, and San Jose. They lost the first 2 games, and then they had that miraculous comeback against San Jose where Devin Cooley for San Jose shit his pants again in the third period for the second straight time against the same damn team, the Chicago Blackhawks, and ended up losing 5-4 in overtime in that game. They're back home. You got Calgary off 3 straight losses. Calgary stick a cork in their playoff hopes if they weren't over before, certainly over now with these 3 straight losses going into this game. This is pretty simple. Calgary's fallen out of the playoffs. Still don't love their defense without Tanev and Hanifin on it. Chicago's coming back off a 3-game road trip. I could see them being sloppy. Now, the one concern is you've got the best goaltenders of each team starting in net tonight. You got Peter Mrazek for Chicago, although he's suddenly struggled the last 2 starts. 10-goal allowance for Pete Mrazek in the last 2 starts for the Chicago Blackhawks. And even Jacob Markstrom in net here for Calgary tonight. He's given up 4, 3, 5, and 3. Grand total of 15 goals in his last 4 starts. So he hasn't played as well with this, weaker blue line playing in front of him. So this is over trifecta for me. Over 1.5 first period, over both teams to score first period, over in the first period, over full game at 6 as well. I haven't said that much. There's not a lot of game, and I'm tightening the belt with the over trifectas because, there's a lot of these games where there's high stakes, big points available on the table, and you get lower scoring, tighter checking games as a result. I do not think this will be one of those games. It feels like we just roll the puck out with these 2 teams and we see a lot of goals. So I do like the over trifecta here in this game. And it is worth noting 7-3 to the over in the last 10 meetings. And especially here at the United Center, the last 3 meetings in Chicago, we've seen, or the last 4 in Chicago, 5-1, 5-2, 5-1, 5-2, 4-3, and 4-3. So 6 or more goals, 4 straight head-to-head meetings here in the Windy City between the Flames and the Blackhawks. Terry, what do you think here? Calgary, Chicago.
Yeah, I'll be real quick with this game. It's my pass. One of the games I'm passing on. Now, I am going to be looking at this one live because if there isn't a goal early, like you said, in a very heavy over history, both goalies are giving up goals right now. Both teams trending towards the over. Um, Calgary 4-2, 5 of their last 7 have gone over 5.5. The Blackhawks 5 of their last 7 have gone over 6.5. And if this total gets to 5.5, only one of the last 9 meetings has gone under 5.5. So I want the 5.5 number, and I want it close to plus money if we can get it. So a 6 here. I don't think we'll have to wait too long in the first. So I'll be looking to live bet this over, depending on how it looks at the beginning of the game. But other than that, staying off. The Hawks have done well against Calgary. They won 4 of the last 5. So this is a team they've done well against, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll look live bet over in this game, but that's it for me.
I lean Chicago from a side perspective, honestly. The only concern is they're off the road trip, but it was only a 3-gamer. There's no way there was no way I would endorse, especially after 3 straight losses, to effectively end the playoff hopes. Maybe there was a slight chance for them to make the playoffs before these last 3 losses. Maybe the door was open ever so slightly for Calgary. But now, after these last 3 losses, it is definitively over for them as far as any chance to make the playoffs. So now's the time when I'd be very leery about laying minus 170 with the Calgary Flames on the road against anybody right now. So I do lean Chicago. I might even sprinkle on the Blackhawks slightly, but I prefer the over trifecta big time here in this game tonight with the Blackhawks and the Flames. And as far as goal props or player props, I should say, here in this game, we do have some decent options here at our disposal for player props. I think when you look at it here tonight, Calgary, we've talked about Zary and Pospisil. As long as they remain on the top line, they're a decent look as far as props go. For Chicago, looks like tonight, and look, they did score 5, albeit it was against San Jose, but anybody with Bedard, specifically Kurashev and Donato's Pizza right now playing with Connor Bedard, those would be the props I'd be most interested in for the Chicago Blackhawks here tonight in this game. All right, next up, we've got Montreal and Colorado. Look at this price now. We're seeing upwards of minus 440. Upwards of minus 440 for the Colorado Avalanche here as home favorites tonight against the Montreal Canadiens at Ball Arena. The total currently 6.5, pretty much across the board in this game. This is a very fascinating one to talk about, believe it or not, because Colorado is just this freight train right now. 9 straight victories, no question how well they have played during this incredible stretch of hockey. No doubt. It's been great. It's been impressive. There's no doubt. But if you actually look now at the home games specifically, the last 4 home games, the Minnesota game against Terry's Wild, that was the one game they were up 1-0 after the first period. But Detroit at home, kind of a sluggish start, was 2-2 after the first period. The Columbus game at home Friday night, 1-1 after the first period. The Pittsburgh game Sunday afternoon, it was probably the worst first period Colorado's played all year. Down 2-0. They were outshot 16-3 in the first period of that game. And then they rallied all the way back to win that game, of course. And we were all many of us at least were on Colorado in the draw live. And it ended up coming through. But they have had slow starts on home ice, especially against inferior competition. These last 2 in particular, Columbus and Pittsburgh. You've got Montreal, not a very good team. We know that. But Montreal is coming off the 5-1 win at Seattle. I was on Montreal as an underdog. Couldn't believe Seattle was laying that kind of price, the way they're playing in that game against Montreal. Montreal goes in there and smokes them 5-1. They had lost every game on this road trip before that. This is the final game of the trip, but they had lost every game before beating Seattle. But look who they played. Vancouver 4-1, Edmonton 3-2 in overtime. The Calgary game was probably the one where I can say, you know what, shame on you, Montreal. You should have played better than that. But for the most part here, Montreal, they've been competitive on this road trip. And you actually look at what we have seen here against Colorado from this Montreal team. You know that the last 2 times, the last 3 times they've gone to Denver, they've lost by 1 goal. Colorado's won all 3 games, 2 of them in overtime, but they were all 1-goal games. So they have actually given Colorado some fits in the past. Looks like for goaltending here tonight, it's going to be Samuel Montembeault from Montreal. And I'm glad he's doing this, Jared Bednar. Georgiev has at times looked like he's been overworked. Like he definitely feels like he needs to have a little more space between starts down the stretch here to give him some rest. Justus Onanen will be in net here for the Avalanche tonight, who actually has played better lately, but is he someone I'm ready to trust to shut the door completely? No. What I really like here in this game, and there's a couple of different ways to approach this here. Let me see what I can find here as far as I like both. I like the over trifecta, but I really like first period both teams to score plus 168. And anything you can find for Montreal first period in this game, I'm very interested. You know, whether it's Montreal money line, you know, which you can get at one hell of a price. In fact, you can get Montreal first period money line still at plus 240 at a lot of spots. If you want to play it a little bit safer and just go plus a half, minus 110 first period on Montreal here tonight in this game, I think they have a good start. It's also worth noting Marty St. Louis returns behind the bench tonight for the Montreal Canadiens. And, you know, that's kind of like a little situation that I think is a benefit for the Canadiens. They've got their leader back, their head coach, who, of course, was away tending to a significant injury that one of his kids suffered. And that's what led him to have to take time away from the team. But I like Montreal first period money line for a sprinkle, and probably split it with Montreal first period money line and that plus a half minus 110 to be tied. Because if they're tied after the first period, you cash that bet with the plus a half minus 110. And as Rich H says in the chat, the Montreal first period team total just to score a goal minus 120. I like that. There are books that offer first period team totals. I don't know if I have the guts to go get greedy and go over 1.5 and ask Montreal to score 2 goals in the first period like Pittsburgh did on Sunday against Colorado, but I'm content to just settle for that just to get a goal minus 120, pounce on Colorado early, and maybe good news. I hope that happens. I hope that happens because maybe BetCast tonight, we get another opportunity for a Colorado live bet and do what they do. And that is rally back at home. The opponent gets gassed. The opponent wears down, gets tired in the third period. We saw it with Pittsburgh. So that's the way I'm approaching it. Montreal early, Colorado late. You know, that kind of approach here in this game. And as far as props for Montreal, look, you've got to go with anybody that's Slavkovsky or anyone on that second line right now, specifically Newhook and Armia. On that second line for the Montreal Canadiens. Newhook in particular stepping up, and he used to be with Colorado. So he's returned to Denver. He'll want to have a good game tonight for the Habs. Slavkovsky is the guy that's got the value playing with Suzuki and Caulfield. Suzuki assist is probably a good prop tonight as well. But yeah, a Newhook with the 2-goal game against the Seattle Kraken. Like I said, he's going back to Colorado where he started his career. So those are some good props for Colorado. Anyone on the top line, Rantanen, McKinnon, Nichushkin, Lehkonen, former Hab, got to look in the Arturi Lehkonen direction tonight, in my opinion, and Jonathan Drouin. He's been good. Scored the game winner against Pittsburgh, and, you know, Quebec roots playing the Montreal Canadiens. Wouldn't surprise me to see Jonathan Drouin make an impact. So it's a good prop game as well. What do you think here, Terry? Canadiens, Avs.
Yeah, you did say like the best games to watch probably are at the earlier part of the day, and then as you said, the schedule kind of teeters off here. However, two of my favorite games of the night are here at the end of the slate, and this is one of them. This is one of my favorite games here. Give me the draw plus 500. Plus 500.
I think it might be worth a look. We mentioned 2 of the last 3 in Denver between these teams have gone to overtime. And we know if it's going to be, as I think it could be, Terry, slow start Montreal and Colorado takes a while to ramp up like they did against Pittsburgh, we could see another overtime. That's a good price. Plus 500. That is a good price.
Yeah, so that was an easy play for me. I had to choose that. Montreal's gone to overtime in 2 of their last 5 games. Colorado's gone to overtime in 4 of their last 7. So both teams are playing close games right now. So plus 500 is great. There, I'm on the over 6.5, minus 115 here. Colorado is scoring a ton of goals recently. Montreal 5-1 in their last game. Yeah, they faced the Seattle Kraken, and we know what Seattle's doing offensively right now, and that's nothing. Colorado, you cannot compare Colorado's offense and Seattle's offense. So if Montreal puts up 2 or 3 goals in this game, um, we're cashing the over. So I like the over 6.5. Jonathan Drouin, 2 or more points, plus 340. He has he's done that in 3 games in a row where he has got multi points facing his former team. As he said, Slavkovsky point plus 100. He's done that in 7 games in a row. He did this earlier in the year where he got really hot for a long portion of time. And I've been backing him here, so I'm not jumping off now. New hook point plus 130, again facing his former team. And I forgot about Lehkonen. So now I got to try to fit Lehkonen in here into this already long list of props. But yeah, Cale Makar assist is a great parlay piece. He's done that in 11 of his last 13 games. McKinnon, yes, his point prop is absolutely horribly priced, but he's got a point in every single home game this year. I don't see this as being the one that it ends. So either we get this draw or I think Colorado kicks butt. Either way, I like my plays here in today's game, in this game.
And like I said, as far as goaltending, we got Montembeault for Montreal and Justus Annunen giving Alexander Georgiev a much-needed break in net tonight for the Avalanche. All right, Anaheim and Seattle. We've got the Seattle Kraken minus 210, home favorites, 5.5 the total. We'll use the sound effects to tell you what I'm on in this game. Quack, 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 quack. Give me Anaheim here, plus 175. Get this Seattle minus 210 bullshit out of here. Come on. They can't be laying minus 210. They can't be laying minus 210 to an American Hockey League team. They can't be laying minus 210 to the Ducks affiliate. Never mind the Anaheim Ducks right now. So they're just a broken team right now. And for Montreal to come in there and dummy you like that the other night, up 4-0 in the first period, tells you all you need to know about where Seattle's at right now, and that's circling the drain. Give me Anaheim, simple as that. It's not like Montreal's a world beater and they went in Seattle and people were saying, Montreal, you can't trust, even though Seattle's minus 160. Yes, you can, because Seattle's in that much of a world of hurt right now. So for me, Anaheim plus 175 here. What do you think here, Terry? Ducks, Kraken.
Yeah, apparently we're hearing that Zegras is coming back. So that's an extra little piece of offense there on the Anaheim Ducks. And yeah, I kind of figured when I saw the Kraken minus 210, I'm like, Ian's going to be on the Ducks. I could see that coming with the way you've been fading this Kraken team with this price. I've not pulled the trigger on the Ducks. I've not pulled the trigger on anything in this game. The only thing that kind of worries me is that maybe Seattle, after that really bad home game against Montreal, maybe they step up a little bit in this game.
Some pride. Yeah, I mean, look, they're not going to lose every game the rest of the season. You'd be a moron to think so. But it's more so the price you're getting. Like, win or lose, I'm happy taking plus 175 with anybody against Seattle right now.
Yeah, I agree. And as I believe it was Terry Ray Vegas, Vetrano. 7 of his last 8 games, he's got at least 5 shots on goal. So he's getting 5 shots on goal. There's great value with his shot prop. Jared McCann has 3 shots on goal in 5 straight games, but this is just a tough game for props. This is my second pass so far. The 2 games, or the 12-game slate. This is the only game I don't have anything in. Is this one?
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. As far as props go, I don't really want anything to do with Seattle, not just the team, but the props right now either, because their offense is just dead as a doornail at this point in time. They miss Vince Dunn badly. I know we've said that a million times, but it's so true. The record without him is abysmal, and he's still out. And now Riker Evans, that good young defenseman who's actually played well at times, is out too now for Seattle. For Anaheim, Killorn, it looks like you're right. Trevor Zegras might be back tonight, but yeah, Killorn, Vetrano, McTavish, would focus mostly on those guys as far as player props go. It's funny, this Brett Leeson, too, every now and then has stepped up and had a game where he scored a goal, even 2 goals on occasion. So, and he's got points in back-to-back games, and he scored against Chicago. So maybe Brett Leeson if you're going to go for a little bargain on the Anaheim side of the equation tonight. All right, Columbus, Arizona in the Mullet House, Mullet Arena. Arizona minus 160, home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. Blue Jackets and Coyotes. Obviously, the Coyotes are a team that, on home ice continues to be pretty spunky. They had the win against Seattle last weekend. They played a very good Dallas team, though. Their last home game, they ended up losing that one by a score of 4-2. We'll see how they fare here tonight against the Blue Jackets. Again, this is a team that Arizona probably can win against and should win against here on home ice. Vejmelka is in net for the Arizona Coyotes tonight. Elvis Merzlikins once again for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think when you look at this spot here for Arizona, I like them to win, but I don't like the price. I'm still not really enamored with ever taking Arizona at minus 160. Doesn't matter who they're playing or if they're playing at home, but they should win this game. Vejmelka's actually, and Carter Hutton, mentioned this a week or two ago, that Vejmelka's one of the goalies. He had the arrow pointing up, and rightfully so. If you look at his last 5 starts, he's given up 3 goals or less in each of his last 6 starts, 2 goals or less in each of his last 3 starts. He only gave up the 2 to Minnesota, even though they lost. Gave up just 1 goal to New Jersey in a victory, and the 1 goal allowed in that win against Seattle last Friday. So, Karel Vejmelka has actually played quite well here for the Coyotes of late. We'll see if he can keep it rolling. I can't say the same about Elvis Merzlikins because he's in net, and he has been just crushed in 2 straight starts. 6 goals to Winnipeg and Colorado. Now, granted, those are 2 pretty good teams, but not what you want to see out of Merzlikins. He's allowed 17 goals during his 4 games losing streak. Not what you want to see. His goals against have plummeted to 3.4 goals against, .899 save percentage. I do like the over trifecta, but I'm also adding the Arizona team total over 3.5 as well. And that is always what I look to do with the home favorite. Wide lay minus 160. You can get a nice, comfortable, even money, minus 105, minus 110 with Arizona team total over 3.5. And I do like that here tonight. That's my favorite look in this game, is the Coyotes team total over. But I am going to sprinkle on the smaller over trifecta here as well in this game. What do you think here, Terry? Blue Jackets and Coyotes. Oh, yeah. And then, of course, the big news item is Josh Doan, the son of the legendary. Played his whole career there with the Jets/Coyotes, the original Jets/Coyotes franchise. Shane Doan, his son Josh, called up from the American Hockey League and will make his NHL debut tonight. That's special stuff right there, just because of Shane's connection to the franchise all these years. And now he gets to see his son don the Coyote jersey for the very first time in the National Hockey League. So that's going to be pretty damn cool. I mean, if you're any kind of hockey fan, that's pretty cool. We get to see something like this here tonight. Everybody thinks the world of Shane Doan as a person, so everyone's going to be so happy for him that he gets to see his kid not only make his NHL debut, but for the team that he played his whole career with. And it looks like Andre Tourigny is going to put Josh Doan on the 3rd line tonight with Jack McBain and Matthias Michelli. It looks like it's still Keller, Bukestad, Schmaltz, Krause, Cooley, Gunther on the 2nd line for them. So, just because the guy's making his debut doesn't mean he's going to score in his debut. But if you want to have some fun, there's north of plus 400 out there for him to score a goal in his first NHL game. So I don't hate putting a couple shekels on that. What do you think here in this one, Terry? Columbus, Arizona.
Yeah, I have I like Doan. I like Doan to score, and I have the same amount on that as I do with my other props. Plus 405, because like you said, he's coming here and he's playing for the team his dad played for. He's getting his NHL debut. I do wish he was with Genther, but Matthias Michelli has played great for most of the year. So a great line mate for him to have. And it's not, and so that's all good information right there. But another thing with Doan is he's not just some sloppy that's coming up here. He leads his AHL team in goals this season. He's on the top 10 of the scoring list in the AHL. So he's having a great season in the AHL. Coming up here, I love him at plus 405 to score in this game. Clayton Keller, anytime goal plus 150. Plus 150 against the Blue Jackets defense when Keller scored in 6 of his last 7 games. I'll take that. Nick Schmaltz assist. He originally got the assist in the last game, but then they gave it to Kerfoot instead. So I'm on Schmaltz assist at minus 105. And if I had to pick a side in here in this game, I'd be taking the Coyotes on the puck line. I think they do have a good game here, but just haven't pulled the trigger. I'll stick with the 3-player props here in this one.
Yeah, for me, it's team total. It's just the greater value. Very unlikely if Arizona wins this game that they score less than 4, in my opinion, because they've scored 4 goals or more against weaker competition quite a bit on home ice, not to mention Elvis Merzlikins. He's given up 6 now in back-to-back starts. So I think it's a good chance here for Arizona to find 4 goals at least to cash that team total. Like I said, I'm on the over trifecta a little bit for a smaller amount as well here with the Blue Jackets and the Coyotes. Yeah, and all those props, like I said, Gunther and Cooley, I'm interested again in their props. Bukestad, don't sleep on Bukestad. Bukestad's actually, all of a sudden, I'm seeing him collecting some points and scoring some goals lately. So Nick Bukestad might have some nice value as well. We've seen his offensive game start to pick up a little bit here of late. All right, we have reached the conclusion of this Tuesday card. The final game on tap tonight, Dallas Stars, San Jose Sharks. Our own Matt Robinson, Dallas Stars fan himself, will be in attendance in San Jose for this game tonight. And in fact, he's going to actually check in for a little bit, at least on the Betcast tonight from San Jose. So we'll get his impressions of the Stars and the Sharks tonight there in San Jose. Right now, we've got San Jose, or Dallas rather, minus 420 road favorites here in this game. The total currently sitting at 6.5 across the board here in this game tonight, Stars and Sharks. Interesting matchup here. Obviously, I remember Dallas and San Jose, who have played each other quite a bit the last month to 2 months. They've actually played each other twice here. It's actually here in the month of March. They've already played twice. The game in San Jose was wild. It was 7-6 for the Dallas Stars in overtime. It was one of those games where they were down 6-3. They didn't play great. And then all of a sudden they rallied back all the way to win that game 7-6. We'll see what happens here tonight against the Sharks. It is worth noting that no Jake Ottinger tonight in net for the Dallas Stars, giving him a rest. You know, a little bit of a weaker team, obviously probably plays a part in the decision, and going with Scott Wedgwood. But before you start to say, Scott Wedgwood in net, downgrade, Scott Wedgwood's been very good lately. Really, really good. Go back and look at his last few starts. He's given up 2 goals or less. Played well in a victory against the Islanders. He's actually been really, really solid since early February. He's been playing some good hockey, Scott Wedgwood. He's a very capable goalie. So, you know, it's not like he's an auto, go against at all, especially when you have a quality team playing in front of him. So, not so sure this makes things all that greater of a chance for San Jose to pull a massive upset. We'll see how the Sharks fare. Mackenzie Blackwood will be in net for them. They should have beat Chicago in their last game at home, but it was a crumbling in the third period by the Sharks and by Devin Cooley, who started that night, and it ended up being a 5-4 overtime comeback win for Chicago. Worth noting, Blackwood made his return to the San Jose Sharks in the game against Tampa Bay. Didn't play that bad, but they still lost the game by a score of 4-1 to the Tampa Bay Lightning that night. We'll see how this game goes. The only thing I've got is the bifecta here in this game a little bit, but nothing significant because I actually respect what Wedgwood's done. And it's not totally a shock to me if, he plays well enough and he keeps San Jose to, 2 goals or less. It wouldn't shock me. But I think Dallas gets to 5. And if they do, I think they've got a pretty good chance here to see this game get up and over the total. We saw 7-6, and I don't think it's going to be 7-6 like the last time in San Jose. But like I said, 5-2 Dallas, I could see it here in this game. Still don't love at all what I see from San Jose. I mean, we are talking about a team that's lost 7 straight games coming into tonight. And their home games, they lost to Chicago and then a 4-1 loss to a comparable foe at home in the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, like I said, I think this can get over the 6.5 here. a little bit on that over 1.5. Just the bifecta here. I did not touch the both teams to score here in the first period. That's about it for me. I'm nothing money line wise, nothing as far as the side goes. Just a piece of the over bifecta here for me in this game. Terry, what do you think here? Stars, Sharks.
Yeah, obviously with the Stars minus 420, it's really difficult to try to back them here in this one. From a side perspective, this will be a game that I look at live if for some reason San Jose does have a really good start. We can get a decent price with the Stars. Maybe I'll look at them live. But as people, Rich H and Rocco and Pobody saying, Jamie Benn continues to just be consistent, playing his best hockey we've seen in a while from him. I think that's fair to say. A point in 10 of his last 11 games. I got him for minus 120. Yeah, he's on the third line, but with the Stars, first line, second line, third line, it's just a number, honestly. They have so much depth throughout their lineup that being on the third line doesn't hurt him. He's playing with Wyatt Johnston and Stankoven. So it's not like he's on the fourth line of a bad team playing with bums. He's on the third line playing with two very good offensive players. Minus 120 is just a no-brainer against the Sharks here. So yeah, I do like that line. Mostly just Jamie Benn. And I'm on him for a point. He's been scoring lately, so maybe you want to look at him for a goal. But minus 120, a great price for his point prop here in this one.
Maintenance night for Tyler Seguin. He is out. Maintenance. They just, he just came back from injury. They want to be careful with him. That's why he's out. Ty Dellandrea will slot into that second line right wing spot with Duchesne and Marchment tonight. So Ty Dellandrea probably has some value here for Dallas. Sam Steele, as John is right. Sam Steele, has been a sneaky player lately for Dallas as far as scoring is concerned. But yeah, Jamie Benn, goal, assist, point prop, anything Jamie Benn with Johnston and Stankoven, who are probably worth a look. And I'm going to, even though it didn't come through last game, I believe that last time they played in San Jose, they got 7 goals, and he didn't even have a point against his old team in that game. But I'll go back to the well with Joe Pavelski tonight, going back to San Jose. Why not? Sprinkle on a goal prop there. All right, great stuff. That is the Tuesday card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. A reminder, tonight's the night. And what a night it is to have a live betcast. 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. We're looking forward to it. Alex, by the way, will be on the betcast tonight. Even though he's not on the Daily Show, he'll be ready to rock, ready to go for the betcast tonight. 7 p.m. Eastern time. DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast, and we will send you the link for it before it begins. Again, if you've never been with us on the betcast before, again, it is a bar and pub atmosphere. Very, we just basically talk about the games as they're unfolding. Live bets, have a couple pops, couple brewskis. It's that kind of environment with the betcast. Lots of fun. We're looking forward to it. Again, DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast, and we will send the link to you of the betcast to you before it begins. And make sure you're a Patreon member, because some of these betcasts in April and beyond will be exclusive to only our Patreon members. And you can sign up there for just $10 per month. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Our daily sides, totals, and player props are posted there each and every day. Bonus content as well, goalie charts, totals charts, and more. Sign up and subscribe. We've got plenty more live exclusive to Patreon betcasts coming up April and beyond for the rest of the season and into the Stanley Cup playoffs. So again, make sure you sign up. Just $10 per month, and your subscription cost goes a long way to keeping the show going in the long term. Patreon.com/Ice Guys. Sign up now. Just $10 per month. And again, make sure you check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Get your gear and all your Ice Guys merch there from the Ice Guys store. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets to wrap up the show in just a moment, right after we hear from our great daily sponsors, Boston Hemp Inc. right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. And again, get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code Ice Guys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night. We got one last night thanks to Anjay Kopitar, the LA King veteran, who got us to the win column at plus 305 with the bargain bin special of the night for Monday. We'll see if I can deliver an encore tonight with the bargain bin special of the night. Terry, we'll start with you. What have you got tonight for the bargain bin special?
Well, I hope I'm not stealing yours, but it was a no-brainer for me. Jonathan Drouin, 2 or more points, plus 340 tonight, facing his former team. Not just that he's facing his former team, but he's got multiple point games in 3 games in a row. So it's just a great spot. Plus 340 for Drouin, 2 or more points.
All right, there you go. Jonathan Drouin, Colorado Avalanche, over 1.5 points for Terry Edelman with his bargain bin special of the night for this Tuesday night NHL card. My bargain bin special of the night, and I was very encouraged to see that he's getting power play time. And I know in terms of his spot on the forward lineup, it's not been on the top 6 forward group, but who am I to not make someone that's plus 700 to score a goal tonight my bargain bin special of the night, given what he's done the last 3 games for the Boston Bruins. Justin Brazeau, Boston Bruins, plus 700 for my bargain bin special of the night in what should be a terrific game. Hopefully it lives up to the billing between the Boston Bruins and Florida Panthers. Like I said, goals in 3 straight games for this kid, and he's looking to make it 4 straight, and it's plus 700 for Justin Brazeau of the Boston Bruins. That's my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets. Terry, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, kind of like the Drouin bet. I'm going to another former player facing his former team. Best bet, Gensel to get 2 or more points, plus 170 here. Looking to cash 2+ money bets here in my best bet and bargain bin.
All right, there we go. I like it. Jake Gensel, Carolina Hurricanes, as he makes his return to Pittsburgh against his old team. Plus 170, over 1.5 points, Jake Gensel. Best bet for Terry Edelman here on this Tuesday NHL card. My best bet for this card, give me those red hot. And I don't do this often. I lost a best bet going against them last night, and I'm going to try to cash a best bet going against them again tonight. Nashville Predators over Vegas. Give me Nashville here, minus 140 against Vegas. I think they keep this run going. If it's Patera in net, which I expect, disadvantage for the Golden Knights, and a tough spot on the back-to-back on the road. It was such a huge win for them last night. It's going to be tough, I think, to duplicate that against this surging Preds team. Nashville, minus 140. My best bet here for this Tuesday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. Betcast tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. Be there or be square. For Terry Edelman, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you in 3 hours for the live Betcast, 7 p.m. Eastern tonight, and back tomorrow again for the Daily Show on Wednesday right here on the Ice Guys.